All right, so what we're gonna do today is I have two really awesome experts with me who are going to deep dive into kitchens and bath. I'm gonna talk a little bit about what's going on in the consumer mindset to set the stage off, and then we've got two people, I mean, I could pretty much just like leave and go take a nap because they've got this on wrap. And then you don't have to hear me talk as much. All right, so before we get started, what I'd like to do is to have Dennis and Kelly give us a little bit of insight on their history and what they do today. So Dennis, do you want to start out giving us a little intro?
Well, sure.
Thanks, Dennis.
Thanks, Deanna. So my name's Dennis Webb. I'm the Vice President of Operations for Fulton Homes in Phoenix, Arizona. I've been there a long time, 26 years. Oversee the sales and marketing and the $45 million design center, which is something that is quite near and dear to me. So my retail background, I spent 23 years in the retail business in men's clothing. And that kind of made me thought, well, maybe I'll use that to something else. So I had worked for this guy named Ira Fulton, who owns Fulton Homes. He's Arizona's largest philanthropist. He's given away over $300 million to various charities. A bunch of schools at the ASU school are named after him because he's given them $300 million. So he's a pretty good guy.
That's a good reason to name something after him.
Yeah, so I worked for him in Southern California, the clothing business, and then he sold the clothing business to another company. I stayed with that company for a year, not knowing that he had a non-compete clause and he couldn't hire anybody for a year. So after a year, I got in touch with him and he said, well, why don't you come over and help us build houses? And I said, okay, great. I don't know anything about houses. I live in one, but that's about it, And he said, well, you're good at people and you're good at analyzing things and you really understand the retail business. I think there's a lot of things in the retail business that you bring to the home building business. And so that was 26 years ago, and I just had a great time.
Well, and I've known Dennis for a few years, and the more that I get to know you, the more that it clicks why that retail matters so much in what you do day to day, and he's going to share some of that with us in a little bit. And then Kelly Mangum, that's right. Mangum, I got it right the first time. I'm going to get it right.
It's one of those things. When I got married, I thought that my maiden name would be much easier than my maiden, which was Brazel.
Yeah.
Should have kept the maiden name.
I know, at this point.
You want to give us a little intro?
Yes, so thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here. Kelly Mangum with Builders Design. I'm currently coming to you from Charleston, South Carolina. I'm originally a Georgia girl at heart. I've been in the business for 18 years. I started out as a weed design consultant in a design studio for a home builder in the Southeast called John Whelan Homes and Neighborhoods, and worked my way through that company and finished my career with them as a corporate director of design, doing a lot of what Dennis does now, managing design studios, making sure that our clients had the best options and available selections to them to really help that customer experience. Now I work with Builders Design, and on the flip side, we merchandise model homes, very different from a interior decorator, if you will. Our ultimate goal is to furnish these homes to help our builders sell homes for faster and for more money. What we were talking about earlier is kind of identifying the why before the buy. So really showing off those high margin items such as sculleries and flooring and all of those other details that we really want the buyer to focus on in the home and not just the furnishing. So really creating that partnership with our builder clients.
Fantastic. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump into a little bit of consumer insight. Then Kelly's going to talk it through some trends. And then Dennis is going to talk about how they do the merchandising and set up their center. And then we'll open it up for Q&A. So if you have questions, you can either jump in as we're going or you can save them for the end. So when we survey consumers, what we've learned is that 67% of consumers are cooking more frequently than they were before the pandemic. And this was a year ago that they were doing that, and we just resurveyed on it, and they're still cooking more frequently. So while the kitchen was always a very important part of the home, it's grown in importance in the past 2 years. And when we talk about how consumers might want to shape that space, and we know that we're trying to fit more into the footprint of the home, we said, what would you be willing to give up? And they said that having some eating space around the island is perfectly acceptable seating area, and that having that separate dining space isn't necessarily something that they need in their home. It's not a need, it's more of a want. And when we talk about kitchen island design, this is really coming from asking them how they live in their home and how they use their kitchen. And they're saying, I really need help with the clutter. It's not just about having a place to eat. It's not really about having a place to cook. It's about how they're using that kitchen island, that kitchen peninsula, that space. And yes, obviously it's used for meal prep. But it's also used to eat really quickly. It's used to store kitchen items. It's used to drop things off. You know, sometimes that's where keys live. Sometimes that's where book bags live. Sometimes that's where you're sitting and you're doing homework or crafts or hobbies. Some people, like, there's still quite a bit of people that are using it as a workspace as well. So they haven't quite shifted to working in that home office. And as we look at the kitchen features with the greatest impact on design, homeowners believe that they get their most, we call it bang for their buck for the stylistic side, on the countertops and cabinets. And that's where they're willing to spend. And this pushes appliances and the flooring and some of these other pieces down. So they're really focused on the countertops and cabinets in the kitchen. And then, all right, I'm going to let Kelly talk about this. I'm even going to skip this slide because we could talk about kitchen color all day long. There's a lot to do in this. There's a debate. I'm skipping this. But neutrals are there, especially in some of the homes across the country where people are really focusing on these things. And when we asked about the cabinet finishes, pickle or whitewash stain and high gloss acrylic are really sort of showing towards the top along with glass. And some of these laminate or stained things are becoming less popular as we're seeing throughout. And if you've heard me talk before at this conference, it's not the first time you've heard me say easy to clean, easy to clean, easy to clean. Let's talk about easy to clean some more. But that happens in both the kitchen and the bathroom. Ta-da, like I set myself up for the next slide. And easy to clean and durability are definitely outranking aesthetics. I've said it 1,000 times. I don't need to keep meandering on this point. But those two, making it easy to clean and durable, are priorities in the consumer mindset. So looking at the bathroom, here we go talking about color again, those neutral palettes are still really popular. And then they're picking things to add a little bit of visual interest there. But it's about a 2 to 1/3 split. It's not exact, but about 2 out of every 3 consumers are looking for something subtle and calm. And then there's that 1 out of every 3 that are looking for something a little bit more bold and energizing. Again, here we are on the color palettes, but we ask consumers, where are you going with your color palettes in your bathroom? And they're leaning on the neutrals with the whites and grays. All right, so let's talk about market share for a little bit. The past few years have been rough, and I'm sure we'll dig into this a little bit as we move throughout the session, but market share is shifting based on who can deliver materials. Raise your hand if you had to substitute a material in the past year or two. Hi, everybody. Yeah, okay. And so we've been talking to building products companies and telling them, like, make it really easy to substitute your product. And so sometimes having that conversation up front, like, okay, if something happens to this, what's next in line, is something to keep in mind. And now I'm going to pass it over to Kelly.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'll do that. Okay, so what I have brought for you today are some kind of leading trends in regards to what consumers are going to be wanting to see. And I'll talk a little bit about some generational effects on that as well. And then I will get to, I was telling the team here that I have brought our 2023 trends, which you guys will be the first people to actually see these for kitchen and bath. We normally keep this under lock and key, and they are not shared until the International Builder Show. So This is a little
Sneak
secret,
peek.
little sneak peek for you.
I love it.
We won't tell anybody.
Yeah. So I think one of the main important things to do when you are considering who your buyer is identifying what moment they are designing for. Is it the forever? Is it the season? Or is it that exact moment which we are calling the now? And I think that's crucial. When you look at your older buyer profile, maybe your Gen Xers, your Zoomers, they're going to be designing for the forever. Your transient, maybe your Gen Xers, your millennials, will probably be in between your season. And then the Gen Zs, which we have not talked a whole lot about, they're your new buyer profile, they're your lower 20s. They're going to be buying for the moment or designing for the moment, excuse me. So some of the things to be on the lookout is that luxury is going to become livable. So, I just like talking about COVID because I feel like we've been living in it for so long. But now that people are starting to have parties again, and you're inviting people into your homes, and you're having those Christmas parties and those get-togethers, you're going to see a trend where people are wanting to go back to a little bit of luxury. But that luxury wants to be attainable. People are going to want that to be something where it's not just over the top and uncomfortable, if you will. All right, here we go. Living in color. So white is here to stay. It is considered the neutral, but color is going to be considered now. So you're going to start to see more people wanting a little bit of splash of color, especially in cabinets. Those jewel green tones, your blues. We were talking about cabinets earlier. A good majority of my clients use Timberlake cabinets. They have just come out with this really beautiful sage green color. So I think, again, identifying who's your forever, your now, your moment buyer, having those options available to your clients is important. Also going to see some shifts in the bathroom. One is because what we call our boomers, they're aging. So, with the way that the world is, our boomers are aging better and longer, and that means you're going to want to be able to offer them products that are also going to be stylish. So you're going to see a big trend in those handicap accessible bars that are going to be more tied into your furniture styling. Also, your millennial and your Gen Z buyers are going to want some more environmentally loving products. So water sustainability is going to be a big one for them. And then, of course, I've added our picture of our lovely model here, showing just some wellness features that, again, are going to be top of mind for buyers. Shifts that are going to matter in the kitchen that you're going to see, and I think we touched on it very briefly, is storage. So the addition of working pantries, pull-outs, sculleries, those big prep areas, again, kind of going back to that luxury detail, kind of ties in with that, is being able to have that prep area to keep that mess behind doors so that when you are entertaining, you're going to be able to have that. So storage, we talked about with the island, again, having that place to hide all of that dropped off mess is going to be crucial. And again, your millennials and your Gen Xers, your Gen Zs are going to want sustainable products. So you're going to see the trends for composite products, composite granites, composite quartzes is also going to be incredibly important coming up. Again, we talked about it just a minute, touched on it, but the coffee table island, this is definitely a trend to look at. Enlarging the island space, making it either maybe a two-tier where you have your workspace and then you could have your traditional seating element around it, or making it larger to where you are, eating at it, you're working at it. I can tell you that the only time that my personal dining room is used is at Christmas and Thanksgiving. We work, live, and eat at our kitchen island, and I think that that's something that's is becoming more prevalent around your buyers, especially our new buyer profile that's coming to the market. Now, even though I talk about color and those jewel tones, the spa kitchen is also going to be really important, bringing in those lighter mid-tone wood colors, keeping everything soft. So while you do have some consumers who love that pops of color, the softer side is also going to be really important in making sure you have those options available for your clients. Also the artful kitchen. This is again kind of tying into those pops of color a little bit, really bringing in a sense of personal touch. Again, I think this is going to be that buyer that's going to be your forever buyer, really wanting to personalize it and make it a part of their home and to make it more cohesive with the rest of their home. This is not your moment buyer that's just designing to flip this house in a couple years, which might be, the all-white kitchen. Again, not going anywhere, still staying. And then again, a touch on that storage. Storage is going to be huge. That's what I've been hearing through all of our research that's been coming through. Bathrooms. So I think what's also really important is that there's a big push to bring your nature, well, actually, I wouldn't say a big push, it's been here, to bring nature inside. So I think it's really important for builders to really start re-examining larger windows, bringing that light into the bath space with greenery. I think, the green tiles have been a big push this year, and I think that's because people want that sense of nature. Dare I say skylights for those builder's worst nightmare, but it is a great way to bring in that natural light into a space, especially with communities where houses are built like right on top of one another, where a huge window in your bathroom might not be exactly ideal. Curate. So those are the items that where people are going to want to be able to personalize their space. These are the trends that I talked about briefly. So I'm going to cover fit and finish. And excuse me, I do have some notes here in case I couldn't read it, because people do tend to be most excited about this information. So fit and finish for the kitchen. So some of the things that you're going to want to see, that you will see coming, is that color and bold accents are gaining ground. So let me go back to my notes here. Warm veined stone and countertops, huge. So again, that quartz countertop, but also making sure it has those warm veinings of your caramels, very similar to our jacket that Mr. Webb have on right here. Perfect color tone. Also carrying that up as your backsplash. Very kind of more minimalist feeling, not so overwhelmed, keeping again that spa feel, if you will. Warm natural wood tones, mixing different countertop materials, though you will see down here at the list, butcher block is on its way out. So me thinking more of mixing those quartzes with granites, that kind of thought. You're going to have smart appliances, brushed finishes, black stainless. Again, I know people always just kind of default to the stainless appliances. I think it's safe. I love a really cool kitchen with some white appliances and some gold accents, or it's taking a little bit of time to put a pop of color at your cooking range or oven. So definitely that new black stainless finish is going to be really important. Secondary cooking, steam, pizza ovens, kitchen, obviously expanding to the outdoor. That trend is not going away, and we're going to see more and more of that. Working pantries, as I mentioned before, sculleries, hands-free faucets. I think that really took a big, accelerated a good bit in our COVID world. When designing a model, we always make sure to show at least one hands-free faucet in the home, and a really great idea for that is also in your powder room. That's where actually most of your guests are coming, so if you're ever considering, that's a great upgrade opportunity, is selling a hands-free faucet in a powder room. Larger islands is going to be huge. Large working sinks, two-tone finishes, statement lighting, lots of natural light. So again, wanting to bring that outside in with large windows when available in your kitchen. And dare I say, curves are back. So curved countertops, you're going to see a lot of designs. I remember when I built my home, my husband is a builder, and he had put like an arched niche, and oh my God, you would have thought that he had committed murder. And I was like, no arches, they are back. And so you're going to see a lot more of those in walkways, and definitely arched countertops. And I'm sorry, I didn't say some of the things are going to stay the same. So let me do that real fast. So things they're going to stay the same in the kitchen: your organic, natural styles, seamless induction cooking, charging stations. Those are here going to be to stay. Waterfall islands, cabinets without hardware, keeping everything seamless, easy to clean. hardwoods in the kitchen, composite sinks, and then matte black. Those finishes are definitely here to stay. And then things that you're going to see less of will be your traditional design, U-shaped islands, open shelving, which kind of makes me really sad because it looks really great in a model, but I think functionality-wise in a home, it's not so great, especially when you've got like 3 kids under 5. That's just a nightmare. And then, believe it or not, farmhouse sinks. Those are going to kind of be on the way out, so you'll be seeing like less of those. For our cabinets, so again, I'll say it again, while white is continue to be a popular choice for kitchens in 2023, we can expect to see kitchens to get a bit more color in the new year. Painted finishes such as blues and greens, warmer, lighter wood tones are also going to be popular. Pull-outs, so again, storage. I have heard so much about storage in our trend research, and I think it's really something that you got to listen to. Hidden hinges, again, for that seamless look. I think that also kind of goes back to that cleanability. Touchless electric hardware cabinets, so cabinets that you can touch and open without having to have that hardware. Outlets inside of vanities, keeping everything nice and concealed. I think, again, that kind of goes back to that cleanability issue of in your bathrooms and sinks, like having everything just kind of hidden and concealed. Gold finishes, and then panel-ready appliances. Again, keeping that just consistent overall clean feel is going to be incredibly popular. Also, shaker style cabinets are here to stay, but that is going to change a little bit. You're going to see a lot more styles coming with a beveled accent. I think while everybody wants that clean shaker look, while the raised panel cabinets are out, there is going to be a turn of that style. Things that are going to stay the same in cabinets, that's going to be painted white cabinets as your neutral. Your shaker door styles, flat panel door styles aren't going anywhere. Transitional design, so those people who are a little bit more on the modern side but don't really want to go that far, so kind of meeting in the middle. Colorful accents, light countertops, and then quartz countertops, and then of course your hidden hoods, like not having it to be like your bright out in front stainless hood, keeping those cabinetry styled hoods aren't going to really go anywhere. And then things that are going to go away, which I think what this is that these are trends for coming up in 2023 and a little bit beyond, where I think when you're researching people, it might be people that haven't bought a new home yet and are like want that white and gray combination, where we're seeing that that's actually going away. So that was going to be something you're going to see less and less of. So I think it just depends on.
It really does.
Yeah. And then raised panel doors, ornate, and then open shelving. And then for our bathroom, so again, luxury baths are going to be remaining a priority this coming year. Some of the things that you're going to see are going to be nature-inspired hues. People are going to want bright windows, again, to bring in the natural lights. Freestanding tubs, again, are not going to go anywhere. Just you'll see on the list as less as the Whirlpool tubs. I think it just comes down to cleanability. It's just they can kind of get kind of gross. If you've ever looked to shop at a new home and the Whirlpool tub's been in there for 20 years, it's not good. Dual showers, rainfall shower heads, again, are going to be very predominant. Multiple sprays. Again, people want that luxury, so you'll still want to offer that in your design studios and in your model homes. Transitional design, dimmable lights is going to be a big one, kind of creating that mood, giving you that spa effect. LED black backlit mirrors, again, very popular. I did my makeup in one today at the Sheraton. It was quite nice. I was like, I need to have one of these in my own home.
Dim it down, turn it up.
Custom medicine cabinets. I also think that kind of goes for our buyer profile that's aging a little bit more. Like we don't want that old, gross medicine cabinet that we remember in our grandparents' house. So really incorporating that into cabinetry and making it part of the entire space. Heated floors, that's another big one coming back. Two-tone gold accents, vertically stacked tile, rounded shapes. Again, I said those arches are going to be back. And then, of course, frameless and clear glass doors. And then some things that are going to stay the same, white cabinets, walls, countertops, that clean, fresh look is not going to go away, especially in my market. I mean, I'm in Charleston, everything is just white, bright, shiplap. I mean, you know, so that's definitely, I think that also pertains to your market as well, also, you know, what is going to drive these styles. Organic, natural styling, lots of greenery, smart toilets are going to be wanting to stay the same. Wet rooms, that's where your shower and your tub, if you don't know, are in the same space. That's still going to be a trend that's going to stay the same. It's not going to go anywhere. Connection to the dressing and laundry. This is, and I think, I don't know how many people have a dressing room, but I think more of it like the closet, right? Like women love being able to have their laundry room attached to their closet. I know that I would if I had that option. So that would be something I would definitely say to make sure you're offering. Matte finishes, brush finishes, tiled full slab walls in bathrooms. That is also going to stay. And then, of course, like I said, traditional styling, those whirlpool tubs, don't even offer them. Super-sized tiles, which I was really surprised to hear because when I worked in a design studio, I loved selling the big tiles because it made tiny bathrooms feel so much bigger. But the trend is shifting on that. Wallpaper in a primary bath, yes. Powder room, other areas, no. Keep the wallpaper, but you're not going to see it in a primary bath so much. And then designated makeup areas. Again, I think it's just we're on a life on a go. I don't really know the last time I had time to sit down and do my makeup like that. So that's going to be something that's going out as well.
All right. So what I'm hearing is don't be afraid of curves.
Don't be afraid of curves.
I'm hearing that a little bit of color isn't going to hurt anything.
Correct.
We still need some clean lines, streamlined, easy to clean.
Yes.
Things in there. I heard you mention two-tone a lot, which I remember seeing at the Builder Show like 3 years ago. It was starting to show up.
Yes.
Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that later. And to add a little bit of personality. People want a little bit. That's sort of my summary. You feel like I hit it there?
100%.
All right. Any questions for Kelly before we keep moving on? I don't see any. All right.
All right.
Dennis, why don't you tell us a little bit about what the experience is for a consumer when they buy a Fulton Homes and how they go through the process of purchasing and then selecting and what that experience is?
So first of all, I love designers. Kelly did a great job in presenting all this stuff. But one thing she kind of forgets is, how do you put this 15 pounds of flour in a 10-pound bag, you know? And I'm going, wow, you can't possibly carry all the stuff that she's talking about, right?
No,
So you have to curate it. You got to say, okay, how are we going to do this, okay? And then there's so much stuff. How are you going to get your buyer through this, okay? You have all this stuff and all these different appliances and cabinets and flooring and bathroom fixtures and faucets and lights and fans and all this stuff. How are you going to do that, you know? So we opened up this design center about 18 years ago. And we said we want it to be big and we want it to be really a great experience for the buyer. That's the most important thing. If we have a great experience for the buyer, the other stuff will follow. Profits will follow, sales will follow, goodwill will follow, and we're actually using the design center at this point to sell houses, and that's pretty good because that's what we do, okay? So we're completely transparent with all our buyers. They can see what all these options are, see pictures of it. We have a program called Envision, and then everything is online. We price it. Buyers can see it. They can see everything that's available in our showroom before they contract. It's on our website. We give them a password-protected login, and they can see everything. And so we sell about 150 homes a year to people that had not registered, you know, in our sales office, but had been online before, and then finally bought a contract or bought a house after that. So 150 a year is pretty good. But the whole idea is, you know, how do we get the buyers to really buy into this stuff? And the real key is the salespeople. Even before they contract, they've got to get the salespeople involved. So we get our salespeople completely involved in the process. And We actually even measure what the salespeople sell in options. Although they're not selling all the options, we have designers.
Yeah.
We have a terrific design staff, and we do a thing called browse night, and the buyers come in, and people, would-be buyers and realtors and things like that. And we'll get 100 people in our design center. Design center is fairly large. It's
I think we have a
13,000
photo,
square feet.
don't we? Do we have a photo or two?
Okay, show you a couple things here. Here's kind of our entrance area there. And then, so this is bathrooms. So this is our blue bathroom, blue and gold. So we see gold dying. We see gold trim just kind of getting way out of it. But I agree with Kelly that blues and greens and jewel tones and things like that are really coming in. But we're seeing the degraying of gray. And
Degraying of gray.
Degraying, yeah.
What does that mean?
It's becoming less popular.
The degraying of gray.
Yeah, they're degraying. So
Like
white continues to be king or queen.
Queen.
But we sell 80% to women, so it's queen.
It's queen.
But the gray becomes a problem, you know, and I think we're seeing that. But the painted, stained maple and birch and things like that continue to be very strong. The whole thing is we have to make sure the categories are such where the buyer can navigate through all these different options. So we carry 2,300 options, and we have to have categories, subcategories, and sub-subcategories. And many builders make the mistake of not organizing their options clearly so the buyer can't see where they are. It's so important that the buyer sees all this stuff, because our buyers are spending about 10 hours online before they even have their design center appointment.
So with that many options, how do you avoid analysis paralysis with the buyers? How do you walk them through that process?
Well, the salespeople help a lot, so they're with them all the time. The browse nights help, where the designers and salespeople are there, and we want them to kind of get familiar with all the things that are available. When you have that much square footage and you have that many options, we really want to make sure that they understand the whole process and don't get bogged down in picking out colors at that point and picking out fabrics and picking out cabinets and flooring. We'll have plenty of time to do that during the design center appointment. We've also, when they're spending that much time online before they get there, our design center appointments have been reduced tremendously. Our average design center appointment is 4.5 hours. Our average sale in our design center is $60,000 a house. So we sell $10,000 to each person in flooring, and we sell $9,000 to each person in cabinets, and we sell $6,000 to each person in countertops, and $5,000 to each person in appliances. That's where we spend the time, because those are the big four.
Yeah.
And so it just makes sense for us to be able to kind of show people how all this stuff works and to organize it so that they have an idea of how it works. Now, a lot of times we also have, smart home technologies. We have another company that comes in and sells people that. We do that during that same appointment, so that's part of that 4.5 hour tour. And another thing we do, it really doesn't involve kitchen and baths, but after we close out the customer, they're done, they've finalized, we have a hardscape program. And we bring in the hardscape company, and they meet with the customer after the house starts, because you don't want to commingle your option funds with your hardscape funds, because they'll put it together. We want to maximize those. And so we do $3,000 a house in hardscape options, and it's pavers, and it's synthetic lawns, and it's water features and spas and things like that.
Well, and we talked earlier about how important it is to connect the kitchen into in the living space into the outdoor space. So it totally makes sense that that would also be part of the options process. People care about these spaces. They're paying attention to them more. They want them to function more for them.
Exactly. And so what happens is they'll do a paver brick paver on their patio, and then maybe do a synthetic lawn and an outdoor kitchen, and that'll all be done before they move in. So they
Yeah.
mortgage it all, it's all in their thing. When they move in, it's all done, you know.
Yeah.
It's been phenomenal. Here's another kind of shot of our design so you kind of see how spacious it is. This is our Fulton Home studio. It's really kind of a Hollywood set. We needed a way during COVID to try to figure out how to do an appointment without having the buyer there. Our envision program worked out great. It was perfect for it because we would do a Zoom conference and then have them on computer so they could see online what all the options were and things like that. What we found out is sometimes the options don't appear that well online with your monitor as they do in person. And so we got a high resolution camera and we take videos, and the things we needed videos of was cabinets, backsplashes, countertops, and flooring. Those put together. And so we'd do a video, we'd shoot the video, we've got, you know, professional lighting here and everything like that. As I said, it was built by a Hollywood guy. We call him a Hollywood guy. You know. They said, okay, we'll do that. Cost a lot of money, but certainly worth it. He paid for itself on the first appointment. And then we do a video of the thing and then immediately send it to the buyer, and they can see stuff, and we can like give them accommodations. So this one's more of a, you know, maybe a white tone, and this one's more of a beige tone, and so we send it to them and they can kind of figure out what they do. The whole thing is you want to have a great customer experience. To have a great customer experience, you have to have a pretty good selection of options, okay? And we go to the philosophy of any time we can, we want to do good, better, best. So this is door hardware, and it sounds, door hardware, it's not a big deal. It adds up, you know, all these things add up. So we carry Baldwin on the high end and Quickset on the, you know, the lower, the medium end, good, better, and then best is Baldwin. And we kind of try to do that in every category. And what happens is we look at it as a retail operation. And so retail stores have good, better, best, and you have price points and things like that. Builders make the mistake sometimes of only carrying one price point, and there's no place to go. You can't really move them up because there's nothing there. So like in appliances, we carry GE, so that's good and better. And then we carry Monogram, and that's best. And then we carry Bertazzoni, which is a high-end Italian line. And then we carry Will Sub-Zero, which is, you know, high-end stuff, you know. So we kind of say, hey, this is the way to go, and try to take that whole merchandising approach and give it to our buyers, and so they can understand exactly what's happening.
And so when you're building the curation of all of these items, how do you work with so many vendors? How do you create those relationships? Like, can you talk a little bit on the back end? Like, we're talking a lot about the consumer part, but that's a lot of relationships to manage. How does that process work?
So we kind of do it in a couple ways. Our purchasing department kind of takes care of the stuff that isn't design center facing, so more of the background stuff. But if the buyer is seeing it and it's in our design center, then we want to have control of it. So I work with we have a fabulous design center manager with great taste. And we kind of talk about what things we need. We use a retail open-to-buy system, so we can't get too screwed up on pricing and groups and everything like that. We want to have a balance. So you want a balance of color, you want a balance of price and things like that. We analyze everything. And so all that, and then we meet, we go to all the shows, and we meet with the manufacturers. And we say, okay, a few years ago we met with Shaw. And Shaw had not been in the tile business. And tile was pretty popular. You probably read, you know. And hard surfaces were great. And we said to Shaw, hey, why don't you guys, you know, now plank tile is becoming really popular. It's like 6 years ago. And we said, do a medium price plank tile, but it's got to be 22 inches by 7 inches because the labor costs break there. And we can put it at a certain price just because of the labor costs. And Shaw goes, okay, we'll try that. And we did the same thing with Emser. And we told them that, okay, let's get this comparable thing. So Shaw came back, and they had this great product, and it was super. and it was called Ventura, and it's a 7x22 plank tile. We put it in the store, and we sold, the first year, one SKU, we sold $1 million worth of one tile, because they went to the effort of bringing a new thing that we asked for, and now they're selling it tremendously. We're still selling $1 million worth of it, 5 years later. 5 colors, one SKU. To give you an idea how big that is, that one tile is larger than our entire carpeting upgrades for the whole design center. So things like that. We really work with the vendors to try to make sure. And we have good relationships, so the vendors like us.
But that's a great example of a true partnership.
No question.
You identified a need, they met it, it's selling.
Right. So countertops, which is our $6 million solution here. A lot of times when you have countertops, you got these little pieces this big, and you can't tell what it looks like, particularly if you have a granite with an exploded pattern.
Yeah.
So we take there's about 50 large slabs there, and these are 48 inches. We take this space there in our design center and say, okay, let's see what the thing looks like. And so we have 12 working kitchens in there, and they all have, granite.
I thought it was that. I knew it was 10 or 12. You got a lot of kitchens in
12
there.
kitchens, yeah. And so we kind of like kitchens. And then we show this so the buyer can really see a ton of merchandise and large pieces of it. Carpeting, this is our thing of carpeting. Carpeting, we try to make it fun. We don't just want to show gray and beige. Show different colors, different patterns,
get a pink shag
things like that. Yeah. So this is Bertazzoni high-end Italian appliance, and so we kind of show that and say, it's something different. It's something that we don't sell a lot of it, but we don't really want to sell a lot of it. We have it so people will say, hey, wow, these guys are great. They know fashion. They know and we're in the fashion business. Just like in clothing, we were in the fashion business.
Yeah.
Clothes and houses, same thing.
Clothes and housing are same thing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Is it being finicky? There we go.
Oh, and there's our 48-inch wolf range that we have in our kitchen, and then that costs more than a car, and it's but people love it. It has the little red knobs and everything like that, and it really, you got to make your design center a showpiece. It's got to be, in the retail business, we used to take something great and we'd put it in the window, and it would be really expensive, and everyone would go, wow, do you have that in navy? And so it's the same thing here.
It's aspirational. That's what it's meant to be, right? It's meant to be. And Kelly talked a lot about luxury.
Yeah.
And we always look to what's being aspirational, and then we have to dial it back into what we can afford or what works for us, right? So it's like, yeah, that dress in the window looks fantastic. I would never wear it, but now I'm inspired.
So there's a full shot of the kitchen with Wolf and Sub-Zero. So we got 2 refrigerators in there. One's a regular 48-inch, and one's a concealed one. 2 ranges, and no one would have a kitchen like that, but it's a pretty good way to display it. And then we have the technology we've built into the design center. So our envision and our visualizers are all in there so the buyers can see all that, and so it's all part of that same experience,
Yeah. So when you're doing your model homes, what level of finish are you putting in there versus what you're putting in your design center? So how are you saying this is what comes standard, this is where you could go? How does that dynamic work?
Well, in our design center, we show what's standard. We have a standard room, and I didn't want to bring a picture of it. We have a standard.
Is it back in the back corner?
No, it's right in the middle, actually. And we show cabinets, and we show bathroom fixtures, and these are the standards and everything like that. The thing with standards is it's a real question on, what's standard? What I'm thinking is you got to make it ugly enough that somebody will upgrade, okay? But you got to make it saleable enough so you can sell the house, okay? So how do you do that? Well, it takes a lot of practice, okay? So in flooring, we carry an 18-inch tile, and it's not bad looking, you know. But with plank now and LVT and all this other stuff, no one's taking the standard tile anymore. Everyone's going to the more luxury plank looks or wood looks, right? In cabinets, we carry a stained birch, and it's 10%. So some people take it, but 90% move up, and they buy the painted white. We have white we carry things in groups. We have whites in groups 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All different qualities, all different looks, and everything like that. And what Kelly was talking about with the shaker style, might have 8 styles that are close to shaker, but they're not the beveled edge here, and they're over here, and they have a little bead here or something like that. So we try to keep that. In granite, we really find the ugliest standards we can, and because
you just have like a corner where you put everything. You're like, this.
Yeah, this one's not too good,
Okay.
But I think you need to see, and a lot of people take the stand, they can't afford it, and things like that. So here's bathrooms. We talked about this. So this thing on the left is it's called Marbella, and this is call our spa shower with 2 heads and a rain shower on top, and probably we sell half of our masters carry this shower.
In the primary. Yeah.
And the way the setup is to make it easy to sell, the standard comes with a tub and shower, 42-inch shower, and then the rest is a tub, a 60-inch tub. This carries the same size, so the configuration doesn't change. You don't have to move any walls. Yeah. You can put this in a spec because it's the same size, right? Yeah. The only thing you can't do is you got to put the rain shower in on a structural, but the other stuff you can do. So the one on the right is the same. These are the same showers. The one on the right is a ceramic tile, and then the one on the left is the Marbella, which is a kind of a solid surface thing. And then what we do is, you can see the one on the left, we put a little band across, a little stele, and we do, it's amazing, we do $250,000 in just that little stele. So you gotta add this stuff up, and you go, God, that's pretty good, And we make a lot of money on it. The markup's pretty hefty. Profit's not a bad thing, by the way.
Profit's not a dirty word.
Not at all.
All right, well, I have a couple follow-up questions.
Okay.
If anybody has questions in the audience, just raise your hand and we'll get a mic over to you. I think we have one up here. While we're asking that, here's what I'm trying to figure out. How do you get the most out of your material selections and what you offer to the consumer without having to carry the weight and the cost of supplying all that? Like, where's that balance?
That's the $64 question. So
I only have 40 on me. Can I just, okay.
we ask the customers.
Yeah.
They know. We survey them every month, and we ask, one question that's really important that we ask them is, how's our option selection? Are there too many? Are there too few? Are there not enough?
Yeah.
Okay. And that they're going to tell you, So 80% say just the right amount, Goldilocks. 10% say too few, and 10% say too many.
So you're just right.
So we're right on, So we carry 2,300 options. We used to carry 2,600, so we've curated it down a little bit. So for instance, in backsplashes, we used to have all our backsplashes were custom. So each designer would spend the time and then customize their backsplash and do this custom thing here for this vendor and this vendor, and put it all together, and then draw it out, and then we build it for the first time out in the field. Oh, we forgot this, so this was wrong, this one doesn't fit, and things like that. We said, wait a minute, we can't keep doing this. This is nuts. So we said, let's do program, and let's have about 30 in group 1 and 20 in group 2 and 10 in group 3, and have about 50 options, and have the buyers select, and they can see it in envision, and they can kind of select like that. We did the same thing in showers. because and tile showers, because we had to make sure we couldn't keep doing custom things because we had problems in the field.
Yeah.
Our skilled labor is not what it used to be, and we're really challenged with that. So that's the answer.
Thank you, Dennis. I think we had one question up here at the front table.
Yes, thank you. A couple of questions. I think you mentioned when you have your virtual design selection meetings that the primary goal is to explain the process. Would you mind elucidating on that a little bit? And I've got a couple more if I could ask as well. Thank you.
Talk a little bit more about the virtual design experience and what that looks like online. Is that what we're?
Yeah. Okay, so we have the whole experience really starts with the salesperson. And the salesperson sits down with the buyer, gives them a login, shows them how the program works, and actually creates a wish list for them. And it's not an extra credit thing. Each salesperson is required. I get a report every month that says, this buyer is from Envision, and it's called a buyer activity report. This buyer has logged in this amount of times, he spent this amount of minutes, and we can see where the buyer goes, okay? So the key, when we first started the program, we didn't do that. We just said, okay, we'd send the buyer an email and everything like that. We said, this isn't working, you know? So now 98% of the people use envision because they're trained by the salesperson that has to do it, and we can see it. The other 2% are models.
And so the goal of envision is?
To prepare the buyer so they have an idea of what is in the design center and can budget and can see stuff that's completely
And they can prioritize
available.
What they prefer.
And have a wish list and send a wish list to their
and shortening
friends.
that design center appointment. And I think it also goes back to your team, is being able to take the information that they're getting from the Envision reports. I work with Envision, so I can speak
Right.
to it. And so it kind of also going back to your last question is taking that research that you get from the reports and then guiding your customer through the design studio, taking away that visual noise, looking at the information in front of you and saying, okay, this person has looked at XYZ 100 times. Well, I'm not going to show them the Y because they're looking at X so often. So it's also,
And it's amazing how many people will buy all the stuff they put on their wish list. They're selling themselves. You know, Tim Costello called it the Amazon effect, you know.
Yeah, no,
and
it
it's
is.
true
I
because
see it,
they're
I like
selling
it, I want it.
themselves. Yeah.
I mean, when we used Envision, before we had it, our typical design center appointment was 12 hours. Three-hour appointments. And then once we started using Envision, it cut it down to about 6 to 4.
That gets expensive.
But it's not just using the software, it's using the analysis that the software can provide you on what the consumer is doing when they're not in the space with you, when they're at home doing their own research, which gives your team on both sets the ability to see where their interests lie before that appointment.
We have a wish list usage report. And you can see which categories, and even down to the SKU, are being wish listed and which ones are being selected, you know. We have a higher propensity on faucets and appliances and sinks and ceiling fans than we do anything else. And that's because they're easy to pick out online.
Well, and that brings back, I've heard it a couple times, and I've had these conversations many a times around like integrating technology to help with the process or to manage or to do these things. And it's 90% of the time, it's not just about, I'm going to adopt this technology. It's about, I'm going to adopt this technology, and then I'm going to see what it can teach me about what's happening, because that's the beautiful thing about integrating these types of things, is that you're starting to learn from it, because most technology tracks what's happening on its platform, and you can start to learn from that and make yourself more educated about your individual consumer.
I also think that it adds to the greater experience for the builders on the flip side, you know. And I'll keep it short, I'm sorry. But, you know, going back to when you have that technology and it prints out the options, there's a picture for that builder to be able to confirm that product that was installed is correct, which also then ties back to the customer's satisfaction, because then the builder's already checked that it's correct. The buyer comes in, they can see it. It's just a nice overall cycle that's beneficial.
The
to all.
other
It's hitting
thing is-
on multiple levels and layers,
Well, the
right?
other thing is, if you've got, years ago, and we get the customer calls from people, and they go, I didn't buy that. Well, yeah, you did. It's serial number AO3061. And they go, well, I don't know what that is. Now we have a record of it. We got a picture of it. It's on their thing. It's part of their contract. They sign it and everything like that.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't buy that. Yeah, you did. Is that your signature? Yeah. Okay. Did someone forge it? No. So we have people that complain about that, but we have much better records to do that.
Yeah.
Plus the manufacturers see all the stuff, and the installers get a copy of what they're going, so they don't have to go on a separate website. When they're out in the thing, they can look in envision, because they have access to what's in that house.
So I see we're getting the red light over here, but I'm still going to take one more question. Go ahead, go for it.
Okay, your 13,000 square foot design center is a beautiful thing. We can't all manage to do that, but how close would you say you come to the 80-20 rule, or what percent of your optional selections represent, what percent of all of what you have available? Or do you fall into the 80-20 rule?
And then, did we have one other question in here too? So let's answer that one, and then we'll hit that one, and then we'll wrap up.
So the question was percent?
What percentage, like your 80-20 rule, and how do you find, not everybody can do the big design studio,
Sure.
right? So like, how do you figure out what needs to be
We
physical and
so
what
we
needs to be?
it's a retail thing, of course, dollars per square foot. So we look at each category and we put it in dollars per square foot. And as we move along, we'll allocate more dollars per square foot for this category and less for other categories.
Okay.
So for instance, we had this big area for outdoor kitchens, and it looked terrific. We didn't sell anything. So it didn't justify the space.
Yeah.
So we made indoor kitchens there instead,
Yeah.
where we're selling way more. So we'll take those things and we'll look at dollars per square foot sales, and that's how we allocate space.
And how
But
often?
but we do $3,500 a square foot in our design center. So
Very
that
retail
13
mindset.
Yeah.
Very much a retail
Yeah,
mindset.
it's $3,500 a square foot. To give you an idea, Nordstrom does $500.
Yeah. So when you analyze that, how often are you looking at that and
Every year.
recalibrating? Once a year?
Every year,
Okay.
yeah.
I will also say when we assist builders when building a design studio that is on like a much smaller scale, we look to storage available options, but also things that could be selected via technology. So while it's really awesome to have a wall full of beautiful faucets, somebody can select that off of a TV screen, where the things that you want people to be able to touch and hold, like countertops are really important to be able to see, tiles really important to see, hardwood, but figuring out what are the things that you don't necessarily have to touch and hold is how you can select that over technology.
Well, and that goes back to what consumers were telling us, like the countertops and the cabinets, those are the ones that really matter to them. They want to see them, they want to touch them, they want to smell them, whatever they want to do,
Yeah.
whatever consumers do with them. But those versus something else might not necessarily need to take up so much space, right?
What do y'all think about all drawer bases instead of doors and drawer base cabinets in kitchens and elsewhere in the home?
So what's the percentage like break of cabinet drawers versus
doors.
all
Yeah,
all doors or all drawers or somewhere in between?
yeah. What do y'all think?
Whatever the customer wants.
Dennis says let them customize it. Kelly, what do you feel like is the?
I mean, I love the look of all drawers. I think it's just really beautiful. I think the main thing is that you got to look at the sizing, and then if your manufacturer can appropriately execute it. When doing all drawers in your bases, people are going to stack pots and pans. They're going to stack their Corningware. If those drawers are too wide and can't handle the weight, then your warranty claims are going to be through the roof. So I think it really comes back to looking at who your cabinet supplier is and can they manage that design. But I mean, I love it. I think it has a great look of personalization and customization without having to have that custom kitchen look, if you will.
Yeah. Any other questions? We got one in the back. Can we get the mic? Sorry, I broke the rules. If we have questions, I want to answer them.
How do you handle with the product categories that you carry and the fact that stuff's getting discontinued all the time in the design centers from the capital that you've got tied up in the actual structure of the design center and ending up with a kitchen that the cabinets have now been discontinued or a tile that's been dropped or from that category? How do you manage that with that big of a design center?
It's been a real challenge in the last, 2 years. Before that, it really wasn't. The supply chain made it much more difficult. We made a conscious decision about 2 years ago to drop all our products from China, and that helped a lot. We just dropped a bunch of products that were made in China. We replaced them with ones that were made in the United States. The problem we have with appliances is unsurmountable. It's unbelievable. We just can't. There's nothing we can do because it's not really discontinued. It just takes them forever to get there. We'll take out if something's discontinued. We'll move it. We'll find a replacement. We'll take that out. And we can't have a $45 million design center with discontinued items in it. It's a hassle.
Yeah, and I think also setting the expectation with the customer. Like, everybody knows what's going on in the world as far as supply chain goes. So, letting that buyer know, I'm really sorry this isn't available. And it's just, and like you said, like switching it out when you can with the available products. But it's just setting the expectation up front, I think, is also crucial.
All right. I think that wraps it up. We can hang out a little bit afterwards if anybody wants to talk one-on-one with the panel. Thank you for joining us for lunch and to talk about kitchens and baths.